So Lee Thayer, in class when he used to teach, he used to ask people, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I think many students, when they heard the question, they felt obligated to respond along the lines of an occupation. They would say something like, well, I want to be a pilot, or I want to be an engineer, or I want to be a nurse, or I want to be a teacher, or something like this. I don't think that was the kind of answer he was after. I think he was oftentimes not disheartened, but he saw the oncoming of the problem with contemporary culture in people's inability to respond to that question with much larger senses of being, of what it means to be someone. I think for his money, for his sensibility, something like, I want to be an inspired and inspiring, well-educated learner who is well-cultivated, thoughtful, is generous, patient, and accomplished. To try to get at what kind of a person one wants to be. Do you want to learn how to take genuine pleasure in exercising your mind, in cultivating your capacity to experience aesthetic judgments, to read complex arguments, to feel the joy of comprehending a complex argument or being able to follow out a deduction? I think part of the question of, what do we want to be when we grow up? The question, I think, to some people is insulting. They say, what do you mean, what do I want to be when I grow up? I already am growing up. I've heard some people, even young college students, say something like that. They were offended by the question, as if someone should ask them, as if they should aspire, as if in some way they're supposed to be more than they already are. I think there is an easy sensibility which says, I don't have to answer this question. I am who I need to be, and I'm already a given, something like this. I think what Thayer would ask of us, though, is, can we learn to see our lives as something which needs to be accomplished? Something that just doesn't happen to you, but something that you do while responding to whatever happens to you. Admittedly, so much in life happens that's beyond our control, but so much of what we do or don't do is something that we've chosen or have neglected. There is so much of who we are that can be grown, can be cultivated, and needs to be chosen. And if we decide not to cultivate it, that was the choice that we made. To really want to be someone, to struggle, to get up early in the morning and to read more than what you've been assigned, and to really ask yourself, when you sit down to read something, I was just sitting down, spent a lot of hours this morning reading Proust and the Squid. It's just a wonderful book. And to sit down and to read it because you genuinely want to understand, to read it because you want to know more about the world. Just bringing that kind of purpose to it, to imagine that it's possible to really learn and to really cultivate oneself in who one is, not just for what kind of job do I want to have. I mean, the question is, does a person want to be a TV watching chair sitter, some chip eater? Is that the life that people are after, to be the pandered to, well entertained, maybe someone's fanning you while someone else is feeding you grapes? Will that really be the happy life that people are after? Or will happiness come from taking genuine sense of accomplishment in who one is in character, in deed, in practice, uh, to have spent the time cultivating oneself in full realization that if you don't, it isn't just going to happen. It isn't, uh, part of the task is, I mean, I think many of us have this, I really want to do this, I want to learn to do this, I want to cultivate that talent. You have to do it. That's just it, you know? Um, I think those are the kinds of concerns. If I have concerns for people who are right there every day, sort of living their lives, I think the question of if we want to live our lives and answer the question, what are, what exactly are we doing with our lives and what do we want to be when we grow up? It's really unfortunate for people to only understand that within the frame of what kind of job are they going to have, so that then on their off time they're not going to do their job. And this, I think the larger question of character, of sense of self, of sense of what it means to be a person, and how much can what we take to be a person, how much of that can really be cultivated and grown. I think that people are more growable, they're more developable than we seem to imagine, especially in terms of, if one does spend, just as an example, 2 hours every day in serious, careful study of those books that you know that you really should read, that you want to read, that you're interested in learning more about. If one spends a couple of hours every day in diligent practice of some handiwork, some crafty work, some artistic practice, maybe it's a performative practice, could be a musical practice. If one actually spends the time to cultivate oneself as a human being, that seems so different than trying to be, quotes, one's occupation. Um, at any rate, I think when people ask the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? Next time someone asks you that question, try to think about some of the different ways that people can respond to it. Okay, thanks.